Nah, bro, I'm so done. My man, I come into this game. My man's named Glizzy God. Glizzy God 03, my guy. Glizzy God 03. My guy. 19, I think. I feel bad though, because I don't know if he made that account when he was younger. I don't know how old Glizzy in its current usage, I suppose, is, but yeah, Glizzy God 03. Can't lie, I'd feel very bad with my name being that. Alright, so I'm just gonna do a quick little stream just because I want to have, you know, I've been leaving gaps in my streaming and I want to have at least something for today, even if it's only like half an hour to 40 minutes. We're just gonna quickly have a look at the new creator features, really. I've had a little look, but I want to kind of go in and play with them a little bit. I know that there's a lot we could do with these. I mean, when I say we, I mean the actual competent creators, the people that actually know what they're doing. But I feel like there's a lot of potential here. Like, there's a lot of potential in these new features. What in the world's going on with the bloody weather? Jesus, it is bright. But there's some very cool features going on. Let me just go to the, what's it called? The, not nightclub, the casino, that's the one. Let me go quickly do a wheel spin. But I'm quite liking the sound of some of these features. I feel like there's going to be a lot of capabilities. It means that some of the, you'll be able to make new modes, new maps, and some of the already made adversary modes. By emulating, you'll be able to emulate some of the adversary modes. I feel like some of them will be easier to emulate than others, but it looks like Slasher, or at least, sorry, Basic Sumo. Maybe not Sumo Remix, but Basic Sumo could be emulated. And then some of the other ones, like the gun game mode and the one kill bullet mode that exists, you'll be able to make new versions of those using these new tools, which I think is actually really, really cool. So I could see like a lot of new maps coming out with these new tools. Alright, so we're just gonna quickly have a look. I'm not gonna make anything yet. I might make something later on when I've got more of a idea. I've got some ideas, but it's like putting, you know, taking an idea and making it is two different, very different things. But hey. What is this thing on the wheel? What is that?
Check out the new vehicle on the podium. You can win it with
What even is that?
on the lucky wheel.
Wait, is that the Tempesto? I can't tell what that is actually. Whatever it is, I don't want it. I haven't spun the wheel in about 3 weeks, so I knowing my luck, I'll probably win it. Oh bloody hell, no. Good. It's fine. Yes, I'll take that. 25. I'll take 25. 25 is way better. Buenos nachos. What an interesting character. Don't think that's quite what it is, but still. Anyway, that's that. So, community jobs. So they actually added a new... that's interesting. They added a whole new tab. And yeah, there's already some community jobs. Crazy golf race. 13 tree. Look, Rockstar. Look, listen to me. Rockstar, listen to me. Put the parkour maps on there. Put Dende on there, yeah? Like, put the Dende map on there. I'm telling you. I'm gonna recommend that. I'm actually gonna recommend the Dende map. I know it's not my map. And you know, they say, like, some of these look good. But I feel like Rockstar hasn't seen the magic that has been made by Dende. I am 100% gonna recommend Dende's map. Up the balloon. That one looks like the hardest one out of them all, to be honest with you. But I'm telling you, Dende, look, put Dende's in there. So that's pretty good. I like that they're doing this, the community maps thing. I hope they eventually will make Rockstar verified ones again. That'd be cool. They haven't really done Rockstar verified in a long time, so it'd be nice if they brought that back. Very good though. With this new creator update, and I hope they do this for all the other creators. Because like survivals could do with an upgrade. Captures especially, captures need it. LTSs are some of the most flexible jobs in the game, and yet they haven't received any updates. This new deathmatch update does mean you can create sort of like an LTS in a deathmatch, which I think is pretty good, but it's not quite the same. But I suppose, I don't know, it's pretty cool. So obviously they're all still here. The deathmatch, you can make an arena deathmatch. There's a tutorial. They updated the tutorial to include all the new features, but I don't know. I feel like this is really good. You got a whole bunch of different features now. It's ridiculous. Like, you get all these different things, you know, like what you can do, team names, team balance. So this is interesting. Team balancing. You can have a max amount of people. So you can have balance ratio. Now, typically in GTA, almost everything works on the balancing act. Everything balances. Like, the problem is, you know, you set up an LTS, you make an LTS, and it auto balances. So you've never really been able to make, like, you'll have these situations where you've got a really good idea in your head of an LTS you could make, but then it's not really balanced because the teams are, you know, the teams are too even. Like, I think that you know, you could with this now make, if they added it to the LTSs later on, or I guess, you know, you could maybe make it a deathmatch now because of the new features. But having something like BMX versus snipers or bowling versus RPGs, I feel like, especially bowling versus RPGs, I feel sometimes is very unbalanced when it's even teams, because one team typically ends, like the team going down typically has the advantage. Very rarely does it go the other way. So I would like it, and actually I think this is really cool. This is something that a lot of people have been asking for, but I've been begging for this as well, is the ability to have a balancing ratio. Now you'll be able to have, you know, you'll be able to set it up so most of the people could go end up on one team, and that's really good. That could mean that you could end up making modes where one team is very overpowered, but there's only a few of them. But, you know, sort of like a slasher. Slasher's been like that. And actually, speaking of slasher, you could maybe make a slasher style mode in this now, because you can have a maximum. You could make 2-player slasher, 2 slashers versus, you know, and at the moment, typically slashers a max of what, 8 people, something like that. You could maybe make a slasher where there's like 2 slashers versus 28 people. That's ridiculous. That's actually ridiculous. Yeah, like so that would be awesome, having 2 slashers versus 28 people, or 3 slashers versus 27, or whatever, 5 slash. You know, you could do a lot with that. You can really, really design some interesting modes using that. So yeah, you obviously have to do it a certain way. You might not be able to do exactly what you want, but it gives you a lot more, you know, a lot more freedom. So I think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty good. You can, you know, play around with this and, you know, yeah, I don't know. I just think it's going to be really interesting. So you could have maximum players on the first. On the second team, you could have maximum player count 1. And on the first team, you could have maximum players 7. And there you go. And obviously, if you set it to 30 players, yeah, you could have a very large team. you could do something sort of like Slasher. Whether you can do the exact type of Slasher, like exactly the same as Slasher, you know, you would need to play around with it a little bit. But I think that's really awesome. Being able to have like balancing, so you could have maybe, you know, 30% of the players on a shooting team, and then in like a bowling versus RPG, or a you know, something like bowling versus Insurgents. You could maybe shift the teams around a little bit to make it so that one team has more people, to kind of offset the fact that the other team has heavy advantage, and that could be really useful, especially if you have a mode where there's different weapons. And Rockstar's kind of done that with their new modes, where some you know, you'll have you can have more people on one team, and yeah, it's I just think it's really interesting. I think that's a really interesting feature, and I think that that's something they should have added a long time ago, but there you go. So anyway, that's that. Obviously, wanted levels, force weapons. You get to force the weapons, of course. Lovely. End condition settings. I like that. You know, typical stuff. You get a win bias, so if there's no clear winner, so you could design it so that, you know, if you're making like a slasher mode, if there's no, or if you're making like a King of the Hill mode where there's someone, or where one team defends and the other team attacks, whatever, you know, you could make it so that the defending team has by default the win if it's an even result. I think that's really cool. I think that's actually a really awesome thing. There's also lives, which I think is pretty good, which is something kind of makes it more yeah, like you get all these features here. You get scoring, free for all scoring, lovely. But this is interesting, lives. Now you can have lives, and you can actually have it so there's sort of like an LTS in a way. You can have it so there's lives. There's also shared lives, which is something that I think LTSs would be really good if they had added that to LTS mode, was have like a shared life. Maybe, I know it's last team standing, but there's no reason why last team standing mode couldn't have multiple lives. It just makes no sense to me that, you know, you could have multiple lives, and then when the team runs out of lives, that's it. So now you can do that. You can have different lives for different teams. So one team, if you have a team that's got really OP weapons, you could give them like 2 lives, and if you have a team with really weak, you know, weapons, like a slasher, you could have like a slasher mode where people respawn. I think that's really interesting, and they're shared. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's really interesting that they've added that. I think that's really good. That's a massive improvement. It means you can make some interesting. In a way, it's kind of made the deathmatch mode more capable than the LTS mode in a way, because they've added these features all to the deathmatch mode, but not to the LTS mode or the capture mode. So now, I don't think you could emulate capture in this, sadly, because there is no capture objectives in this mode. But you could potentially, thank you DualShock, DualSense wireless controller battery. I do think that you could potentially replicate an LTS in this. If this works the way I think it does, yeah, you could end up having it so that you could emulate LTSs, and this actually could be really interesting. I actually think this would be a really interesting opportunity for modes like RPG versus bowling. Having the ability to respawn, I think could make a mode that's already quite interesting even more, like a sumo, like, you know, sumo but with respawns. I think that'd be really cool. You know, we've got Hole. Hole's a really good LTS mode. That could be interesting with the ability to respawn, so you fall out of the area and die, and then you respawn and come to the top, and then you get to have another go. That could make a very interesting LTS style, where it's not like a normal deathmatch where you respawn unlimited. You still got to worry about your deaths, but you get multiple chances, and I think that's more interesting. So I think this should be a thing in LTS modes. I think that this is something they should add to the LTS mode as well, to the LTS creator, so that we could have modes like that with multiple lives. Maybe even, you know, being able to change that in the menu as well, so we can, like, when you load up the mode, you can change it to have multiple lives. I think that would be something that I think Rockstar should do. It would be cool to, you know, set up a hole and then change it so we have 3 lives each or whatever. I don't know. I think that should be something that they do. Obviously now, because it's like, you know, you get lives, you can now enable rounds. Yeah, so you can have multiple rounds, which is wonderful. So you could really treat it like an LTS mode. You can have 3 lives in a round and have 3 rounds. That could be really interesting. Yeah. Oh, okay. So this does actually let you change the amount of lives. So actually, this is already a thing that you can do. You can add it to the menu. So when you set up when you set up this deathmatch quotation marks, you can then choose. Oh yeah, the host can change the amount of lives. That's pretty good. Oh yeah, let them choose a time limit. Oh yeah, let them choose a lock weapons option. You can change all these obviously, but I think the allowing number of lives option is really good. Combat settings. This is the thing that's so exciting to me. Obviously, you get the traditional ones, locked and pickups and all that. But you can remove helmets, yes or no, enable classic features, bullshot, kill streak perks and bounties. I've always hated all these features. I've always thought they make death matches really, really, not as good. Like I've never liked the idea that people can have it. I like how it's called classic, by the way, because when GTA Online came out, I always thought to me like this is new because GTA 4 didn't have that, but now that's considered classic. I guess Rockstar's moved on from that, and that's now considered classic. So you can turn all those on or off. No, I would turn those off. You can allow armor, yes or no. You can allow snacks, yes or no. Friendly fire. Friendly fire is interesting because you can have it so that you can even choose it on a per team basis. I like that. I thought Rockstar would do something like, oh, everyone's got it. Both teams have it. All 3 or 4 teams have it, depending on how many teams you have. No, Rockstar's made it so that friendly fire can be per team. So you could have a team of people that've got. You could. I don't know how you could work that to make it into a mode, but I'm sure there's a way. Maybe have it so that one team has friendly fire on and has to be very careful not to kill each other. But then, there will be people who will ruin it. So there will be people who will spoil that. So I don't know. Modifier sets. This is the thing that's so interesting to me. This is mad. So you can have this. So you can use the default one, which is what, if anyone doesn't have the, doesn't fit in the criteria of these sets, they'll use a default one and you can change all that. But look, you can have eligibility. You can select all players. You can select different teams. Like, you can have one team that gets. I mean, if so, you could have it so that see, this is interesting. If you could have it so that if someone's in last place, wait, let me just think about this. You'll need to test this against real players. I like that, by the way. Rockstar realizes that. If you have it, you could have it so if you're in last place, whoever's in last place point wise gets a boost. That's pretty mad. Oh my, look, you get all these options, man. I mean, look at this. Wow. You get, oh my days, you get some mad on spawns, on instant. So obviously if you respawn, you get the boost. If or you can have it set to be on. Look, I mean, this is just insane. And you could give someone, this is what I would think, you could make a mode where the last place player gets a massive health boost. Like, I don't know if this would actually work, but this is what I gather from this. Imagine you get yourself a new player, you get yourself a new your last place. You could make yourself so first place person gets weaker and the last place player gets stronger. So balance it, so you could have a mode like that where if someone's really dominating, they're weaker for that and they've got to survive with less health. And then the person last place gets a boost. I think that's really cool. And you could design a whole mode around that idea where the person in last place gets some OP weapon power enhancements, gets insane. You could have a massive health multiplier up to 5 times, which is ridiculous. You could up the health regen to 100 fast, very fast health regen speed. You can even disable extra headshot damage now, which is lovely. I love that feature. I hate headshot damage. I get why. But it just means that whoever can swipe their gun up quickest gets to kill usually. And I've never liked that about the GTA 5 combat. I've always thought GTA 5 combat was really boring because of whoever gets the first shot, whoever starts shooting first and aims the gun up highest quicker gets to kill. You can turn that off. You can prevent takedowns so people can't stab you. You can have explosion resistance. So you could have a mode with lots of RPGs where you get knocked about. If you have 5 times health, and health explosion resistance on high, maybe you could tank an RPG and get flung. That could be really fun if that works, because it'd be like the old GTA 4. Fuck's sake, I hate this controller. It could be like the old GTA 4 mode, where people would turn off friendly fire and shoot each other with their RPGs and not people on top of things. That could be interesting. You can disable ammo and drop on death, and you can also increase and change weapon damage. So you can have 1 hit kill. So you could, in theory, make it so whoever's in last place gets 1 hit kill weapons. So if someone's in last place, they'll get 1 hit kill weapons. They would basically mow everyone down. They'd become a really big, like really dangerous individual. They would mow everyone down, and then they would then get the points, so they're no longer in last place, and they would lose that ability, which I think is really interesting. Or you could, if you don't want to be that crazy, you could just have 2 times damage, or 3 times, or whatever. And likewise, if you have someone who's in first place, you could design it so that they have less damage on their weapons. So maybe if they're in first place, their weapon only does 50% damage. That could be really interesting. And I think, and like the fact that you can do it for every type of weapon is really good. I like that. So that's probably one of the best things I've seen. That is one of the best features that Rockstar's ever added into GTA Online. Honestly, I absolutely adore this feature. This is awesome. I can't lie. This is probably one of the best updates for me. I know it's not like a proper update, but this is one of the best things. I know for a fact that there will be tons of creators who will use this. And there are so many imaginative creators out there who make amazing modes already. I could see them bringing their current modes over to deathmatch version and remaking them in deathmatch form so they can alter them. Like, could you imagine having... See, you could have it so that you could have BMX versus snipers. You could change how the people on BMXs, how much damage they take. You could make a ridiculously long course, one that goes up around and around and around, and give them insane amounts of health so they can tank it. You could change the health regen. You could give people on bikes super regen. You could give them max regen, so they can, instead of regen to 50%, they regen to 100%. So you could really alter how the mode is played, and that could change a lot of the way that, that could really change how the mode feels. Having the ability to have people on the BMXs when they do, or runners versus snipers, having the ability to regen to max health, or having quicker regen or slower regen could be really interesting. And if you can combine different modifier sets, that could be really interesting. Imagine if you make it so that, I don't know, I just feel like there is, I don't know how it works if it's set to teams. Would it be the team that's in last place? If you can change it, yeah. When applied to a team, this will cover teams. So you could say, this is what's interesting. If you're making an LTS and one team's really struggling, you could make it so that team gets a boost. So let's say, for example, if, I don't know if it will alternate. This is the problem. I don't know if it will alternate when you do an LTS. Typically, you alternate between the 2 teams. I don't know if that's how it would work when you do a deathmatch style LTS, if it would alternate you between the 2 spawns. But that could be interesting if you were doing something like bowling versus RPG. Actually, no, let's say snipers versus runners. Say if you're the snipers and you've lost 4 games in a row, 4 rounds in a row. It would, it wouldn't even be that. It would just be as soon as you go into it. So whoever's like the team with the lowest points would get a boost, and that could be interesting. That could change the way that LTSs are played. Like having Zentornos versus runners, that could change how much health the runners get. That could change how in BMX versus snipers. That could change how if you have it so the team with the least, if you can do it per team and last place, like. If you're team 2 and you're in last place, I don't know how exactly the logic works on this, but let's just say if you're team 2 and you're last place, I don't know, like you could maybe make it so that if you're because team, let's say if team 2 is always snipers, if you're team 2 and you're snipers and you're in last place, give snipers extra damage. That could be really helpful for snipers to be able to catch back up. You could also set it so if you're BMX, if you're Team 1 and hence your BMXs and you're in last place, it gives you more health regen. And, you know, and you could do all sorts of things with that. You know, how depending on where your teams are and how they're doing, you could change a lot with that. That's a really interesting idea, actually. I think that's really cool. I don't know. I feel like things like that will really change. Also, being able to have different play areas. You can have different areas for different players or for different teams. So you could have a team that has a bigger player area than the other, or has like you could make it so that they can't go into your play area, and I think that's really interesting. That should be I think that could be really useful for LTSs, depending on what shape you can make, if you can make a shape or not, to stop people from going into the wrong area and doing things they shouldn't. But that could also be good for things like Slasher, for Sumo, for anything really. That's a really good idea. Movement, I love this. Movement reduction, not being able to run, not being able to sprint, being able to slow them down or make them very fast. That could make some very interesting beast style modes, but without like super jump. I think that's really interesting. That could be really good for BMX versus runners, having the ability to slow. If your team is doing really well and you're winning, maybe you should get a little bit of a slowdown so you can't run as quickly. I wish that you could. I would be really cool if you could set it so if your team's down by maybe 4 rounds, and you can have harsher. As your team, if your team keeps winning and gets to like 4 wins and the other team's on 0, you would get even harsher restrictions. But I mean, this is still very good. Infinite stamina, love that. I just think that's really cool. You can block jumping, you can block climbing, you can block the combat roll, which is fantastic. You could make a deathmatch, even if you don't want to make anything extravagant, you could make it so that this is always on, and that the other team just cannot use combat roll. You could make it so that whoever's in the lead can't use combat roll and is slower. So if you're in first place, you would be slower and can't combat roll. That would really slow down your ability to get kills and really have to prove yourself then. And I like that. I think that's really cool. You could just set it always on. You could have a very traditional style deathmatch where there's no combat roll. That would be really, really, they can't climb on buildings. That helps you when you're designing your maps. You don't have to design maps which are climb proof. This would be awesome in survivals, because one of the issues with survivals is having to, especially if you're having like a zombie survival, like I've made like a sort of zombie survival. I hate that you've got to design the map so that players can't climb above, because the AI is dumb. They're never going to get on top of things. So being able to design the AI to being able to design the player so they can't climb would be insane. That would be such a helpful thing in survivals. But whatever, this is good. Hey Spade, I'm fine, thank you. How are you? So no combat rolls. You can turn off the action jog. Personally, I think that should be something that every player can turn off for themselves, because I hate the action jog. It makes it really hard when you're trying to do parkours. This would be really good for parkours. You can turn off the action jog, hence you won't be running all the time, and you'll actually stand still properly. This would be great for parkours, to be honest with you. You could make parkours where you can't jump, you can't climb, and you got to just do everything properly. Great, and you could have parkours with ridiculous movement speed or very slow. It's a great feature. So good. Yes, I'm on GTA 5, Spade. I'm looking at these new features. When you kill people, you can give life, you can give health, damage dealt, half damage dealt to yourself. You can give armor, a percentage of it. You can give ammo, so you could make a mode where you have 1 bullet or a very small amount of ammo. You could give them maybe an SMG, maybe a pistol, and they've got a bit of ammo, and the only way to get more ammo is to kill people. That could be really interesting. Obviously, you can award friendly fire bonuses. That's that could be useful as well. On hit, you can do the same thing with hit. If they get a hit in, they get health. They could get, every time you hit an enemy, you could have it, and this is something I thought about, is maybe have like health on 5 times or something, and have like a very slow pace kind of Juggernaut style battle where everyone plays like Juggernauts, and every time you get like hits on someone, you get health back. So basically, you gotta not be hit while you're hitting, and that could be really good for 2-player one where there's two jugs. And you just got to make sure you don't get hit, but you get the shots in on them, so you get the health and they don't get any health. Very cool, very awesome feature. And you could even have it so people spawn in vehicles, which is awesome. Again, this is really good. It gives you kind of a sumo style mode. You could select it so that they spawn in different vehicles.
You picked the wrong house, fool!
Thank you for the raid, Spade.
Big Smoke, it's me, Carl. Chill.
CJ. Oh my dog! What's up?
You can select it so that, you know, people can spawn in certain vehicles, and I think this is really interesting as well. I could definitely see people making some cool sumos, and again, demolition derbies. You could maybe even use this for making a new hole. And there's some very interesting options. Hell, you can even spawn them. So you could do proper vehicle death matches. You could have a death match where you all spawn in jets and smash into each other. They don't care. They just given us all of it. So it's pretty awesome. It's also possible, because this is a modifier set, if the person... Yeah, this is an interesting idea. If someone's in last place, spawn them in a tank. That could be really dangerous. If someone's in last place, spawn them a tank, spawn them a helicopter. You could give someone, because they're in last place, better weapons. You could make it so that one team spawns in certain things. If a whole team is in last place, they spawn in a certain vehicle. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different things you could do with this, and you can also disable actions like exit, enter. So if someone's in first place, if you have vehicles on your map, you could have it so they can't get in vehicles to kind of punish them, kind of thing. Bro, I'm telling you, the features here, this is mad. This is mad. I just think to myself, Jesus, like... It's gonna be mad. The only thing they could do better at this point is if they give us the ability to do time, like to do proper logic and, you know, timers and stuff, so things can happen. So after a certain amount of time in a match, maybe something changes and people start like spawning with different vehicles or whatever. Yeah, it's pretty good. And that's just, you know, then you have scoring. You can change how much bonus. If you're in last place, you could set it so that things give you, like a melee kill gives you more bonuses. You could set one team so that, you know, if you could have one team which has, which is a melee team. You could have, like, see, this is what's interesting. You can have a team which is all about guns, and then one team which is all about melee, because now with the increase in health, you could make one team very weak, easy to knock over with melee, and then one team which has... You could make a slasher style mode where, yeah, one team is ridiculously strong, and then the gunmen have to mow them down, but they're not like you could make a zombie style mode where the zombies are ridiculously strong, obviously not AI but players, but one, you know, the zombies are ridiculously strong, and then the actual people with the guns are not. I think that Rockstar will see. I think a lot of people will copy modes from other games, COD and stuff like that, and put them in this, which I think is really cool. You can have like bonuses for people if they get hit, if they hit people with headshots. You can even take away. So if someone's in first place or a team's in first place, you could make it so headshots give minus numbers. Like, it's actually ridiculous. And you get bonus. You can put bonuses on individual weapons. You can put like ridiculously low for suicides, out of bounds score, for any kill score. You can really customize this inventory. You can give people different weapons, and this is what allows people, as you get kills, you can have more weapons or change the weapon, like a gun game style mode. I believe that's somehow achievable in this. You can even customize components, man. Down to the finish, like the tin. I mean, this is ridiculous. Oh my god. You can give them starting weapons. You can give an infinite ammo, bro. You can give infinite ammo, so the person in last place could have infinite ammo. You hear static. There's no static on the mic, Spade. What are you on about? You can have parachute options. I mean, you know, infinite parachutes, that could be really good if you're trying to do a mode where you got to do lots of jumps, parachute tints, body armor. You can remove body armor, give it infinite ammo, of course. You can remove weapons. It's just, that's mad. No, there isn't, Spade. I've listened to the mic. There's no bloody static, mate. Yeah, you just get so many different things. I mean, it's just insane. You can, like I said, you could set up so that it's score based. It's timer based or score based. You could set up so that as the game goes on, the weapons change or the things change. The the conditions change. Maybe as the game goes on, everyone gets weaker. Maybe as the game goes on, everyone gets stronger. Maybe as the game goes on, the last place gets stronger and the first place gets even weaker. You can do it, and you can even do it based upon score. Like, it's mad. You can do it based upon score. So as someone gets more and more kills, they get weaker. You can change, as they get more scores, their weapons change. So if they get to, score of say 1, you change from a pistol to a SMG. You get to 2, you change from an SMG to an assault rifle, from the assault rifle to the MG, and you could do something like that and make a gun game. I mean, this is just ridiculous. Like, you can even turn off blips, so you can make hide and seek modes. That's something I want to do. I want to make a hide and seek mode. I think it could be really, really fun to have a hide and seek mode in the city, in the center of the city, and have people have to find you in the city. I think that could be really, really fun. And being able to have the blips off now. And you could even set it to everyone's off, or you could set it so that the last place person's off. So that could help if you're making a team deathmatch or a deathmatch where one team is struggling or one person is struggling, the person last place gets boosted. But you could do that for everyone to always be on. And that could really, really create an awesome... like, that could be a really interesting mechanic. And I think you could make hide and seek modes like that. Play areas, obviously, that can change. Movement, yeah. Restrict movement, on kill. There's a lot of awesome features from that. And you can have mobile modifier sets. Obviously, all the same stuff. Ambient settings. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. I think that's when I say that's pretty much it, I mean, Jesus, there's a lot. There's a lot. As far as I'm aware, there's no differences. You can randomize to make like a little area if you want. If you just want to make a quick job and randomize a certain area, if you don't want to put too much work into it, you just want something quick. But from what I've seen, it's pretty amazing. I've not had a chance to make anything yet because it will take me some time to get into it. But my God, I can't lie, it's really, really good. Spade, just a heads up. If you're gonna lie about something, you don't want to lie about it after you've already lied about something else, because what you do is you just end up, when you already look like you're lying and then you just lie again, it means that someone's gonna think, well, you've already lied once, why would you not be lying again? It just doesn't work. So anyway, so yeah, I think it's pretty awesome. I'm very pleased with the changes. I think this is probably one of the best things they've done to the creator, since actually probably is the best thing they've ever done to the creator. If they had these features in the game years ago, the amount of like the levels that people have made, the modes people have made would be insane right now. Like you think about the fact that you look at if you go and look at, I don't know, BMX versus Entornos, or Runners versus Entornos, BMX versus Snipers, Runners versus Snipers, Bowling versus RPG, Bowling versus RPG versus Insurgent. You look at, Plane versus in RPG, that kind of thing. You see that people have made the most amazing modes, and if they had this when they were making those modes, jeez. The only thing Rockstar needs to do now is they need to make this available for everyone. For races, for captures, for last team standings, for King of the Hill, and for survivals. They need to make all these features available. Survivals could be amazing. Having the ability to increase or lower the player's health or you know, their regen depending on wave would be insane. Every one of these features should be available in some form or fashion. Even if, you know, some of the features wouldn't work perfectly in each mode, so obviously they'll have to be curated, but having the general amount of these new features in every one of these modes in some form, having races with the ability to change, you know, car health and stuff like that could be insane, especially for stunt and for parkours. There's so much they could do with this feature. I would love to see all the features come into the last team standings and captures at least, and the King of the Hill, and then I'd like to see them do some of those features for race and some of them for survival. Never fact lie. You always fact lie, Spade. That's a fact. All right. Anyway, that's all I've got to say about that. Just wanted to get on here, have a quick look, have a quick say of what's what. I think it's awesome. I think this is a really cool addition. I think this is something that the game definitely needed, and I'm very excited to see what the creators will make out of this. I already know. Give it 2 weeks, not even 2 weeks. Give it a week. I'll tell you now, some of the creators who've made amazing death matches in the past, and especially amazing LTS creators, they're going to be back on this. They're going to be ready. This will mean that they'll be able to make modes that are even 10 times better than what they've already been able to make. They'll really be able to customize and make some interesting modes. And the modes they already have, they might be able to improve them. I feel bad for them. They're going to have to copy the mode. They're going to have to copy everything and put it into this. Rockstar should have made this feature available on LTSs. But for now, yeah, death matches, yeah, this is going to be cool. I'm excited to get on with it. I'm going to try and make something. I'm not sure yet what, but I'm going to try and make something. But I'm very excited. I'm very excited. Anyway, I'm done. That's it. Nothing else to say. So, thank you, Spade, for your lyras. And thank you, anyone else who was watching. I am going to call it. I'll be back on GTA Online in, like, I don't know when. At least another week or two. But I'm going to maybe off stream make some modes. I'm definitely wanting... I've got some ideas. I don't know if I'll be able to make them very well, but I want to give them a go. And I also want to make another survival. So I'm going to get back on this at some point in the next couple of weeks. But as for streaming GTA Online, yeah, I'm not going to be back on this for at least 2. So, yeah. Take care. God bless. Tomorrow's Fall Guys. Bye.